Hi everyone. For our study, we have chosen to use the phenomenological approach. Sorry for butchering that, which is a type of qualitative research method. Phenomenology is all about exploring and understanding the shared lived experiences of individuals. It's not about testing a hypothesis or building a theory. Instead, it focuses on hearing directly from the people and learning how they personally experience a specific phenomenon, and then identifying common patterns and themes across those experiences. In our case, the phenomenon we are studying is social comparison on social media, specifically how it affects people emotionally and psychologically. We're interested in what it feels like when people compare themselves to others online, what kinds of emotions that come up, and how does it affect their mental health. Rather than giving people surveys with preset answers, we want participants to speak freely and openly about their own experiences. We believe this will give us a more meaningful insight into what social media users go through on an emotional level. And through data collection, we will aim to identify those common themes and patterns, but most importantly, these insights will help us answer our central research question of how do individual social media users experience social comparison and what psychological effects it has on them. Overall, phonology will allow us to deeply understand how this very common yet often overlooked experience affects people in real life. Now off to Joe.
Hey, thanks, Kev. I'm Joe. And for our social comparison project and our study on how social media affects mental health, our study is going to use the phenomenological method, specifically hermeneutical phenomenology. This approach based on Van Manen's work focusing on understanding lived experiences from the perspective of individuals who go through them. Social comparison is a deeply personal experience. It's not just about like what we see online or how we interpret it. It's about how it makes us feel. Sometimes it leads to negative emotions like envy or inadequacy. Other times it can foster a sense of connection. These are subtle internal experiences the numbers alone can't fully capture. That's why phenomenology is ideal. Unlike surveys or experiments, this method invites participants to describe their thoughts, emotions in their own words. Through a series of interviews, this study aims to explore how people engage with idealized content on social media platforms and what emotional responses that creates. Ultimately, this method will help uncover how social media influences identity, self-esteem in ways that are both deeply personal and socially meaningful. So now I'm going to kick it off to Kiara, and she's going to tell you about our instrument.
Hi, my name is Kiara Bowling, and I'm going to be talking about the instrument that we'll be using for our qualitative research project, which will be semi structured interviews as the primary, because this format aligns closely with our chosen phenomenological approach. Phenomenology emphasizes understanding the shared lived experiences of individuals, in this case, how social media users emotionally and psychologically experience social comparison. Semi structured interviews will allow participants the flexibility to share in depth personal narratives while still providing consistency across interviews through a guided set of open ended questions. This format is particularly effective for uncovering nuanced emotional and psychological responses, enabling us to identify recurring patterns and themes. The goal is not to generate a hypothesis, but to understand the essence of the phenomenon from the participant's perspective. By asking questions such as, can you describe a time when you compared yourself to someone on social media? And how do you think social media affects um, how you see yourself? So we invite reflection and authenticity, which are crucial for answering our research question effectively. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Andrew here. And to wrap it all up, our research used a qualitative method called the phenomenological approach. This method really let us focus on the shared personal experiences of people, especially when it comes to how they compare themselves to others on social media. Instead of forming a hypothesis or just testing a theory, we collected individual stories and looked for emotional and psychological patterns. What we found was that constant exposure to idealized posts often leads to feelings of inadequacy, self-doubt, and even emotional stress. This method was key because it centered the voices of participants, giving us a deeper understanding of the real-life mental and emotional impact of social comparison in digital spaces. Through analyzing these shared experiences, we were able to uncover reoccurring themes. Things like trying to keep the pressure up, the fear of missing out, and a constant need for validation. All of this ties back to our central question: how does social comparison function online, and what are the psychological effects on users? In the end, phenomenology helped us go beyond surface level observations and really understand the emotional cost of today's social media culture. And that understanding is crucial if we want to move towards healthier digital habits for our mental well-being.
In conclusion, our study employs the phenomenological approach to explore the psychological and emotional impact of social comparison within digital environment, and particularly through social media use. This method enables us to deeply investigate individual life experience and uncover recurring emotional patterns tied to online comparison. By using semi-structured interviews, we aim to gather rich first-hand accounts that go beyond surface level responses by offering a more nuanced understanding of how social media comparison operates and affects user social mental health. The qualitative nature of research allows for empathy, depth, and context that would be difficult to capture through quantitative means. Ultimately, our finding may help identifying common emotional triggers and consequences of digital comparison, contributing to broader discussion on digital well-being and mental health awareness. This approach not only address our research question effectively, but also emphasize the importance of giving voice of those who are most impacted by social media, often unseen psychological effects.